Good evening, and welcome everyone to CryptoNow, episode 3. I'm sitting here with the boys from Crypto Ventures. I got Joe Mataj, Ashley Hutchinson, and today we are talking about the dark side of the blockchain. Boys, how we doing?
Doing great.
Welcome back.
A lot of things going on. A lot of things happening right now.
Yeah, and for those of you at home, you can't really see the image on the TV, but it's Halloween time, so we thought we'd go with a little more cryptic conversation tonight. We've got it's not a hacker. It's not a hacker, and Joe just mentioned that off camera, so I thought we would kind of start here. Where should we start with this, Ashley? Where should we start with today's episode? Where do you want to begin at?
Oh, sure. I'll tee it up, and I'll do it by way of this. You mentioned all the things going on with Crypto Ventures, and it is a very exciting time for us. We are in a lot of conversations with potential partners, and we're kind of in a catch-22 right now because we're still finalizing and drafting some of our partner outreach, investor outreach, pro formas and business planning, et cetera, so we can continue to have those conversations. But at the same time, we have some interest from people that are wanting to partner. They're very interested in the space.
Awesome.
And we see this moment in time as a really big opportunity, a great time to enter into the market and begin to capitalize on these things. But at the same time, we're going through a very systematic process of this stage in our company to make sure that we're moving forward in the correct manner. So we're having the conversations and working on the partnerships, and at the same time preparing to do that on an ongoing basis. And I say that to say that it's a great time to get into the crypto market, if you want to be successful in your investments.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are many, many things going on in the undercurrents of the crypto market. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about here tonight and what we wanted to venture into. I guess maybe this might be a more risky topic because at the same time that there's so much excitement around the crypto market.
Right.
And, obviously, we're of the opinion that we're headed into some really exciting times if you're invested in the market here in the near future. But at the same time, there's a lot to be worked out in the crypto market. The regulation and it's almost like a fight for the soul of this new asset class and this new financial system. It may be exciting, but there are actors that aren't all on the same page, and there's competing interest in the space that make it very, very interesting. And we certainly have our opinions, but what will the technology really be used for? Where will it really end up? Right. That is the question.
That's good, and that's a great question, I think. Joe, what are some of the benefits of kind of casting a light on the dark side of the blockchain? What's the benefits of your company, kind of doing that today?
For me, again, we see this as a new technology that's coming out, and it has enormous potential, but it really matters how that potential is used, almost like in the biotech space, right? I mean, we can see a lot of good in genetic engineering, but it's not too difficult to see how that could be used
for bad,
purposes of evil. And again, the revolution that's coming in the monetary system is very needed, but it needs to be, everyone needs to be involved in that process to ensure that it stays a democratic and decentralized process, and so that people can stay in control of that.
Sure. I mean, the question becomes, though, how do we do that when everybody's already playing with a different set of rules and regulations when we start talking about these different countries? And I know we're going to get into the China quote because we got to get into our quota for China, but how do we do that when everybody's playing with a different set of rules and regulations and trying to figure out how they're going to centralize this in their own right, whether they're on the one side of the spectrum or the other side of good, versus evil? How do we find a way to sit at the same table when it comes to rules and regulations when it comes to countries?
Well, when you were saying that, I thought, and I do want to get to China because it's a great place to
Kinda
start this
start,
conversation. But it's amazing how it's the same technology, same concept, but it can be looked at from different perspectives. Just today, there was an announcement that MasterCard, I don't know if you saw this, Joe, this came out about 2 hours ago, or maybe a little earlier today, but MasterCard announced that for all of their merchants worldwide, they are going to make, on the back end, crypto payments and transactions possible through a MasterCard name. So literally, I can't remember how many merchants there are, but across the board, any MasterCard holder or company, this includes banks. So banks, retailers, merchants that have, a card like your Sears card, your whatever it is that may have, I guess Sears is a bad example. Sears is not even hardly in existence, but, retailers, merchants, et cetera.
Sure.
Everything from payments to debit cards to rewards points, whether like if you have a MasterCard that's tied to your Delta account or Marriott account or whatever it may be.
Anything that has MasterCard associated with it.
They will have the potential to choose to do crypto transactions through MasterCard very soon. On the same day, there's a report that the CEO of American Express, same time MasterCard says, across the board, we're going to make this available to our merchants and 1.6 billion MasterCard holders across the world. At the same time, the American Express CEO came out and said, crypto will have no effect on our business model whatsoever. We're not getting into that space.
Really?
Now, probably in a year, he'll be saying something different.
I wonder what the the shareholders or the people in that company have to think about that statement right there.
You got to think a good chunk of them are going, wow, maybe we should start investing in MasterCard instead.
Jump ship, yeah.
So I say that as an example to say that that's two companies in the same sector, virtually same business model, that see this technology in a totally different way.
Right.
That's pretty high level, and you see that across the space, and this is where we get to China, right? China, because of its political environment, has chosen to embrace the idea that blockchain technology is here to stay and has innumerable applications to business, government, money, society, culture, trade, everything. But instead of embracing its decentralized nature and its freedom, the freedom side of cryptocurrency and blockchain, they've instead chosen to co-opt the technology. In other words, make it their own and use it for their own purpose through the development of the digital yuan.
Okay.
Almost like they need to get there first. They understand the potential, and they need to get there before the citizens of the country get enough power to leverage that.
Absolutely. And then the United States, I think, is going to be looking at this differently. I mean, there are regulations that are coming because the space has to be looked at. And there are a lot of, we may not even have time to get into this tonight. This could be another podcast. But there are a lot of proposals being offered about how to regulate the crypto industry appropriately, not to dampen it, but to allow it to flourish, but also give it a good regulatory environment. But it's a totally different view than China, because the United States wants to see it.
But you see, that's kind of the problem with the United States, or I don't know, maybe it's the good thing about the United States. I don't know. But it just feels like I can tell you a handful of markets that they are behind on, whether it be the social media market and the way that Facebook is constantly in and out of PR trouble because they can't seem to regulate their own website and their own content and their own platform. They always seem to be behind on it. I remember the marijuana market. We were so behind, whether we were slow coming state by state, we were so behind on that. And then now we have this cryptocurrency market where it feels like, the people or the American people are going to get in front of it. And as they get in front of it, it's going to be late for the government to kind of come back and try to regulate this thing. And maybe that's a good thing for some, but maybe it's not. I always feel like we're just kind of a little bit behind the ball on this. I have another question off to come off
think,
of it.
I think I think that's very important. You're onto something there, that things have developed to a place already that it's very hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
And I think that even our many of our politicians know that, many of our regulators know that. You know, if you talk about a CBDC, really, the intent behind a central bank digital currency, in China's case, is to further control their citizens' activities.
Right.
Right, and then at the same time, I just read a study not long ago that the confidence of even United States citizens in our federal government is at a low. We trust, by and large, the majority of people trust their local and state governments far more than they trust their federal government. Why? Because it's not just a conspiracy theory to say that our monetary policy, central bank policy of quantitative easing, of printing money, the way that we're driving up our debt and our deficits and spending money, gridlock in Washington, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the United States to replace the Bitcoin cryptocurrency market with a central bank currency to any great effect. It may be part of the picture, but I think there's going to be some resistance to that. People want this kind of decentralized money that they can do a lot of things with.
Let's remove the government for a second, if we can. Let's just take a look at the players that are involved in this. You've got American Express and MasterCard, and they seem to be on both sides of the spectrum here. Is it frustrating to you guys, crypto ventures, on the message that you're trying to sell, when you have two of those people in their field, two of those companies in their field, that I would say anybody that's trying to venture into a cryptocurrency space might look at both of those players as respectable players? Is it frustrating to you guys to try to sell a message to this third-party company, or has it just become another roadblock, another way for you guys to just another bump in the road, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's tough to see in large institutions, these individuals who, again, like American Express, certainly understand the financial world, and to somehow come up to the conclusion that really isn't going to have an effect on their method of operation is really kind of frustrating. But I guess for me, I've been in this space a little bit longer. We've seen quite a few folks, start out on the wrong side of the issue
and then
come around. So it's certainly going to be a bumpy road moving forward, but it's coming.
And I guess maybe one thing good to point out here, and by the way, MasterCard CEO just said 2 years ago they'd never get into crypto, and now they made that announcement today, right?
Yep.
But when we say the dark side of crypto, what we're really saying there is that, we see this technology, blockchain technology, that has the potential to provide the next version of the internet in our digital life, utilizing cryptocurrency as its primary application, and that it's a very freeing technology. It's a way for us to generate wealth, generate connections, generate all kinds of transactions, right, that enrich our life. And it has, we say it many times, it has many, many, many different applications to business and to people. So we see that kind of, come at that from a purist perspective, that's what it was intended to do. It was intended to put more power in the people's hands, in the businesses' hands, and be a hedge against central bank authority and some of the abuses that we see there. So when we say the dark side of crypto, what we're talking about is there are movements in the space, even companies, even projects, and yes, nations like China and others who they see the technology, but they don't fully embrace that decentralized nature of it.
Okay.
Another great example is Ripple or XRP. And yeah, Joe and I have talked about this, so we're kind of speaking with one voice on this.
Educate XRP, Ripple. Educate what those are.
XRP is a project. It's a cryptocurrency, but it's more centralized in nature.
Okay.
They were developed by an actual company.
Okay.
And most, a lot of the major cryptocurrency blockchains, they are truly decentralized in nature. You can't go point and say, these are the people that are in charge.
Right.
They're governed by the participants in the network. Well, XRP or Ripple, they're trying to carve themselves out a piece in the banking system, and they're more centralized in nature. And so you have that, and you have some projects and companies that are a hybrid. They're kind of centralized, but they're kind of not centralized. And so that's part of what we're talking about. We believe in a decentralized future, and I'm going to defer to Joe on this as well, but that's part of the dark side. When you take it and then you use it, something that was meant to be decentralized, you used it in a centralized way.
You've kind of completely changed the fundamentals of what that was meant to be in the first place, right? Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And I think the biggest concern is that it can still appear to be a decentralized type of product. In the case of CBDCs,
Okay.
Central bank digital currencies, where yes, it looks like blockchain, it functions like Bitcoin, but there's a limited number of entities who have the ability to influence that.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of the genesis of where we came up with the dark side of blockchain idea here, is that, again, technology is great. We just want to make sure that people understand what it is and be able to be there to help influence the right actors in that space to keep it in the purest form.
Sounds like to me that if I was somebody that was in a space looking to start a company, that this seems like this would be the smart play. Because the reason I say that is we might want it to be decentralized to its purest form, but when you talk about governments and eventually becoming a player, and if they need it to be centralized or so that they can control it to some aspect, it seems like if I'm a company like XRP, that would be the smart play in investing, because, if we're talking longevity, a company like XRP, once they eventually do figure out how the government that is to centralize this thing, a company like XRP would be the smart play to invest in, because they're going to be around for the long haul. Doesn't it seem that way? I mean, if I'm one of these companies that exist now, one of these more decentralized units, they might get flushed back to kind of where they are now, to an earlier stage where they might not be necessarily a big player in the game, 5, 10, 15 years from now. It just seems like a smart play to me to maybe start investing in companies like XRP. Or maybe you guys can educate me. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think what you just described is gonna be how a public and policy debate is going to happen in this country and around the world about crypto, because you're right, many people will be of the opinion that, hey, if I want to start a crypto business, if I want to start a crypto project, let me centralize this, because then I can make more profits off of it.
Right.
I can enrich myself off of it. I can control it. I can control the revenues. But that is contrary to the original idea of founding of crypto, right?
Yeah.
Because there's such power in things being decentralized, because it puts hands into the everyday person or puts power into the everyday person, everyday business's hands. And I think that debate, what you just said, is exactly what we're going to be debating, because
Sure.
as soon as, and there will be a digital dollar, there will be a CBDC in the United States.
Right.
Absolutely.
But what will it look like, right? I'm all in favor of a CBDC in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't think we
way
need,
more efficient.
I
Yeah.
don't think we need paper money.
Sure.
But when we roll it out, is it going to be central and it's going to be the digital dollar, or will it be a digital dollar that has certain dark elements attached to it? Like, I'll give you your stimulus check, or I'll give you your, we'll transfer this money, but we're going to take your taxes out of it right now. We're going to attach certain requirements to this money, whether it be a tax refund or other aspects. There are ways to control that money that are not possible today with the actual dollar, that will be possible with the digital dollar.
Well, I think kind of the summary of this is that society in general has an opportunity to wrest control of the whole monetary process, banking, monetary policies, those sorts of things, away from the same players that have been in power for centuries. It's the same bankers, the IMF. These folks have had the ability to rule, essentially rule the nations and the world. And if we're not careful, those players will remain in power. Yes, without a doubt, countries are going to adopt a CBDC. It's just the next...
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just the next evolution of technology. But is it going to be, as Ashley was saying, is it going to be in a way that is fair and equitable, and that the people, the community, countries have influence in that system? Or is it going to be the same system where just the elite have the ability to control those policies, and they make the decision about what is good or not good for society in general? And that's where I think the dark side is our biggest fear, in getting the message out about what this is and why it's important to understand it now is so crucial.
And I think you'll be able to vote on it, because I would be surprised.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
You do believe that?
I think I would be surprised if in the next presidential election this wasn't part of the platforms that are being argued. What to do with cryptocurrency, what to do with the potential CBDC, how to regulate the crypto industry. It will be transformational, and so there will be a public debate, I think, about this.
And the last 10 minutes of the show, maybe. I understand. I think there's the public, and then there's the private sector, right? There's the private sector that's always kind of pushing ideas and pushing the country forward. And there's the public and kind of all these kind of top surface things that we get caught up with. And right now it's Corona-19, and that's the ongoing one that's just constantly going. There's a handful of other things that we get caught up in. Race is always at the forefront. So it just feels like those become the voting topics, and you vote on a president based on those things. And I don't know if most of the American public or majority of Americans have the attention span for a CBDC type of conversation now.
It may not, but what you'll hear is, I'm not going to allow, we are going to launch a CBDC, and we're not going to allow cryptocurrency to take over this country. Why? Because it will destroy the dollar. It will destroy the American supremacy around the world.
Right.
You're going to hear an argument like that, and then
Right.
you're going to hear people say, "Well, no, but this is how we remain competitive."
And look at the opportunities it will bring us.
The opportunities in the
we can already write the narrative.
This is the next version of the internet. Facebook is in the past.
I think that the American people, or people in general, will ultimately, they'll realize the importance of this. I mean, at the point that the CBDC really is fully launched, and we are truly working on a blockchain-based monetary system, I don't know how it'll happen. It'll take time, but cash will get phased out. And then you think about what that'll mean to a lot of people, is that there are then no cash transactions. There's no working on your buddy's car for $60 and
no working under the table.
Nothing. And when the American people, or people in general, when that sinks in, then there will be a concern. And if they're not aware of that beforehand, then it's going to be too late.
That is a huge, huge selling point. Think about how many people exist right now that are not on insurance, that are working job to job, under the table, because they, for whatever reason, that's what they do, that's what they know. I have a side job, that I currently, I'll mow a handful of
You
people's
don't have to admit
yards.
too much here.
You're right. I don't want to incriminate myself.
Is that you in the picture?
I think I'm off camera here, so it don't matter. Just focus on these two. But yeah, you know what I mean. Painting a fence, or staining your grandfather's deck for $40.
Giving your kid $20 for his birthday.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah. Graduation cards. That's the only reason people want an open house, right?
Right.
So yeah, in some form, that's going to be a crazy narrative. Guys, we're already down to the last couple minutes of this already. It flies. I wanted to ask you this, if I can, as far as crypto ventures is concerned, if it does eventually go down more of the CBDC route, which it eventually will, what does that do for you guys? I mean, does it make you guys have to kind of change your model a little bit? Or does it make you guys have to come up with a new game plan? Or do you guys just not miss a beat?
Well, I don't think we miss a beat. It's about balance too. Like Joe said, we anticipate there will be CBDCs across the world. Fiat currencies will be converted to digital currencies, but we just want to advocate and support projects that err on the side of decentralization and freedom.
Sure.
I will even go that far: freedom, decentralization, all the opportunities that blockchain technology is intended to provide. And so anything we can do, we don't invest in XRP and Ripple. We don't have any assets in that project, because we made a decision that we were going to invest in decentralized projects that are in the vein of what we feel ideologically is best for the space, because that only helps us
Right.
in the long term. The more decentralized it is, the more opportunities for people to participate, and the better we do and our investors do.
Sure.
And so it's just about being, in our opinion, on the right side of that debate and promoting those things that we believe in long term.
It actually, as things unfold, as CBDCs do launch and are introduced into society, it's probably a good thing for crypto ventures. It gives us that much more reason and that much more mission to be out there and promoting our products and our understanding of crypto.
Well, one thing's for sure, there's a lot more to unravel and develop. And as always, guys, you're teaching me with every episode, as I'm sure you're teaching everybody that's checking out these podcasts. So, Joe, Ashley, I appreciate you guys being here.
We appreciate you.
Any final words?
We're going to have to find a different way to pay you eventually, I guess. We'll have to set up that
yeah, exactly.
crypto
I
wallet.
did. I got my first 3 Dots Media paycheck, so I'm very happy about that. CryptoNow, episode 3. I'm sitting here with the Crypto Ventures guys. You guys been listening to episode 3, the dark side of the blockchain. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode next month, and we'll see you on down the road. Thanks for joining us.